We're telling you, it's not easy to do this. Not in 10 minutes. Feels improbable. Stressful. It's difficult to make any difference at all. When you simply talk to someone for 10 minutes and then you walk away, seems improbable. It happens all the time, but seems improbable when you want to do it. When you want to say something important but don't know if you have enough time, and you worry that if you don't have enough time, it may not even be worth starting to say it at all. You should still try to say it, or is it better to be satisfied with a break from the noise? Some silence for once. Maybe that's a better idea. We just won't say anything at all. Rather than saying half a thing, we will say no thing, nothing. But silence is also difficult, can be stressful, can be dangerous. So why would we not say anything if we have something to say? Maybe half a thing is better than no thing. Maybe half a thing to someone is a thing to someone else. Maybe we should just start talking and see how it goes. Maybe it will work and it will mean something. Only 8 minutes left now. Feels more improbable, more stressful. Maybe we should just keep it to ourselves. No. We want to say something because this is what we want to say. We want to say that we should say. If we don't say anything at all, then we're not saying a thing, and at least one thing is what we want to say. Every contact leaves a trace. This is one of the things we wanted to say, something we heard some time ago. We heard it is a principle of forensic science, that it has to do with evidence, witnesses, crime, violence. It has to do with material, bodies, collisions, impressions, encounters that can be retraced, violence that can be traced. We thought it was interesting that an expression used to retrace violence could effectively describe acts of nonviolence, approaches to dialogue, to sharing, ways of experiencing context, spaces, people, ways to understand our agency on what surrounds us and inform our reciprocal exchanges, like what we are doing today, together. Finally, we said something, and now we're wondering if we can make this point clear before the end of our time together. 7 minutes. Sometimes when you have too much to say in too little time, you may think you're making perfect sense, but you only create confusion, sound, noise. Sometimes your visual presentation is itself too much noise. Excessive, abundant, full. Sometimes it is difficult to hear when there is so much to see. We're going to try something. We are back to nothing, visually. We are actually back to a black screen, which is more than nothing at all. You know the intentionality of the black and you think it's anything but nothing at all. The presence of black is different than the lack of something. The black screen is a familiar but uncomfortable scape, as an environment of intimacy between voices and aesthetic unease. But we're going on a tangent, losing ourselves, lost in the void, and we only have 6 minutes left. Stressful. Every contact leaves a trace. It's funny, we haven't had any direct contact yet, but you are already leaving traces on a recording recorded to tell you about leaving traces. The future possibility of you listening to a recording is informing the recording that aims to inform you. You are unaware of leaving traces, but you are. You are shaping our practice, our thoughts. You are creating a contact now, and you will later when you listen to our voice. So what is contact? It can't only be physical. It is metaphysical, metaphorical, atmospheric. But different contacts also have different speeds, different paces to make a difference. Sometimes a contact changes you in a second, other times it takes longer, a lot longer than 10 minutes to make any difference at all. When you are trying something different to make a difference, it feels difficult. You don't know the pace yet. Like this recording we're making. It's not what we are used to. Not this format, not this length. But somehow this seems more impactful when we only have 5 minutes, and now we feel like it is less improbable to say a full thing, because the thing we're saying we're already experiencing, and at this point it is too late to erase the traces it left anyway. Maybe we collectively represent the evidence of our contact. Maybe we are the thing the traces are left on, the witnesses that can together retrace the experience we are sharing. That is the thing with traces. They're always left on all sides of contact. To different degrees, but something is always mutually exchanged, something always left behind. Contact can be individually perceived, but is collectively produced. Contact can be as much something that is there as something there isn't, like this black screen. The lack of something is something. When we understand silent leaves as much of a trace as noise, what's intangible as much as what's tangible, what we do collectively feels more distributed, less individually centered, horizontal. We're talking about collective creation, imagination, about participation in something shared. Contributions to something collective can't be quantitatively determined. It's more ephemeral than that, less tangible, less physical, empirical, more metaphysical, emotional. Traces that leave traces that leave traces. 4 minutes. It happens all the time, but sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we do see it. We're talking about creative production as a collection of traces left by a context. The collective as context, the collective as designer. The traces can't be formed without a contact, and a contact can't be formed individually. We're talking about the impossibility of the individual author, the absurdity of the lone genius. We're talking about alternatives to authorship, to ownership, to identity. We're talking about alternative ways to learn and to teach, to act and to care. We're talking about us, and us now includes you, today more than yesterday. Today is the day we are recording this, and that you still haven't heard it. Now it feels right to have said something instead of nothing at all, and suddenly it feels like 10 minutes was enough after all, and all we needed to do was just talk, to create a contact, and with contact a community, a collective. Time is running out, but we are not stressed. It now seems probable to say something at all. With only 3 minutes left, you may have already forgotten why this has anything to do with violence. Is it only the reframing of a statement used to retrace violence into an approach to act collectively? It is more than that. It has to do with the awareness of violence, awareness of the contacts that shape our reality and that of others, with agency. It has to do with non-violence, with what we do with this awareness instead of violence. It has to do with responsibility. Every contact leaves a trace is a way to approach our understanding of ourselves in relation to others, causality, closeness. So there isn't only understanding, but there is action. There is seeing what we can do with contact outside of violence, what positive traces we can leave, collectively. 2 minutes left, and it almost feels like saying anything more would just be too much. It will make it drag on too long. It feels like we have said enough to start a dialogue, to encourage reflections, to leave a trace. Strange how things have changed in a few minutes. Maybe we will cut it short, leave it at that. Give you space to say something or think something at all.